Now, the Umkhonto weSizwe Military Veterans Association has just wrapped up its virtual briefing on its National Executive Committee meeting, which was held on Monday. The association has called for decisive action over the looting of emergency funds. Our senior politics reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo, is there and joins us live. A very good afternoon to you, Ziyanda. We see once again the issue of PPE procurement and corruption topping the agenda. What are some of the issues that were discussed during this time?
Well, Tammy, I can tell you that the MKMVA has come out strongly against the ANC-NEC, in particular when it comes to how it's dealt with those who've faced allegations of looting, especially those COVID-19 funds. However, what they've struggled to respond to, Tammy, is the fact that they've been inconsistent in their call when calling out corruption and the looting of funds. I particularly asked about the fact that the MKMVA came out in support of former President Jacob Zuma when he was facing allegations, and those in his cabinet were facing allegations, and the fact that there are some within the MKMVA who are facing serious allegations of state capture and have actually recently been to the state capture inquiry. And what legitimacy then does the MKMVA have to be calling out the ANC-NEC and how it's dealing with these issues? And to talk me through this is actually the MKMVA President, Kebby Maphatsoe. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, if one looks at your statement, you're in essence saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership and of the ANC-NEC is weak.
No, we're not saying the leadership of Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa is weak. But we are saying that he must be decisive because he's the head of the organization. But because of these factions within the ANC, so it makes it difficult for him sometimes to act. So, well, it's not that he's weak, but that's why we're calling upon him that he must not be afraid of factions and then not take decision. He must be decisive as a president elected at the conference and take decisive decisions and account. He does not account to the NEC, he accounts to the members of the African National Congress.
Not only the African National Congress, but the public. How then do you reconcile and justify the fact that, or fight against the fact that you, as the MKMVA, have been seen as a factional institution in and of itself, and the fact that you're only tracking factionalism back to 2017 when others can take it even before that time?
You see, that is why in our statement we was talking about the principle that particular time, it was when you lobby. When you lobby, it's for the conference, it's an event. Then after the conference, when the leader is elected, you rally behind that leader. That's the culture of the ANC, and that's how we were taught in MKMVA. That is why we said, we asked a question before the conference, that if the decisions of the conference can come against your candidate, what are you going to accept? We said we will accept the outcome of the conference because it's an event. After that is the president of the ANC that is elected, and we promise that we'll support President Ramaphosa as we used to support President Jacob Zuma.
You're speaking of principle, but principle also requires consistency. And one of the things that you weren't able to respond to is the fact that you said you were disappointed with the fact that the ANC-NEC didn't speak out strongly against Khusela Diko, Bandile Masuku. But on the other hand, you are defending allegations against Ace Magashule's sons to say that if people have a problem with the SG, they should deal with that and not attack him. However, the allegations remain the same. This is against the possible and alleged looting of COVID-19 funds. Why do you choose one approach over the other when it comes to certain people?
I tried to give an example about how Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe responded to that question. And he gave an example of when Comrade Thabo Mbeki was the president. And Moerane was appointed for legal services sometimes. Because he specializes in that. That is why he was appointed. It was not because of the influence of his relative Thabo Mbeki. So if you are appointed in government by that, it's not corruption. Now what are we saying to this young generation, here is my boy. He is interested in doing business. And he goes out, he specializes in that particular thing. And the tender goes out, I don't know where he says, got his own wife and children. Then he gets that thing. He found himself in an accident that I followed the processes, the requirements, and there's nothing wrong. And Comrade Ace is here in the Tule House full-time as a Secretary General of the ANC. He's not a minister, he's not a deputy minister, he's not a DG. He's far away from these things. He is not controlling his children. They are grown-ups. They are old. So people should really be honest here that if they have got issues about Ace Magashule, let them raise the issues about Ace Magashule and not use this thing of his children. It will be correct to say for us to say, no, Meerane was appointed and the Churin Tabumbek, is that corruption? It's not. So we're against corruption, but we must avoid a situation where we will kill our society.
On the issue of corruption, in your statement, you say, there's a lot of deflection on the fact that there's been corruption, but not much was taken in that corruption, but whereas there's more far-reaching and wide-ranging corruption. But the question here is corruption, no matter how small or big.
Yeah, there's a thing that sometimes we learn in the process. And you always say, but should we allow this factionalism to continue? Is it correct? So you cleanse yourself and say, but this thing is not correct. The principle is about the ANC. The ANC does not belong to the NEC members. It belongs to the National Executive Committee. It belongs to the people. That is why we're saying the ANC lives, the ANC leads. So corruption is corruption. Regardless who is doing it, we expect decisiveness from the leadership of the ANC. It can't be when Kebby is involved in corruption because I'm a minister. Things happened under me. And the decision must be taken. When the NEC discusses that, the factions defend each other because that minister is from that other faction, the other one is from this other faction. That's where it makes the ANC weak. So we're calling upon that consciously our people must assist the ANC. That immediately they are found wanting, that corruption happened in their eyes, in front of their eyes, under their command. Then they must step aside as the resolutions of the conference. Those are resolutions of the conference of the ANC. And why we ask ourselves, comrades, why should they waste time in discussing about the comrade when he must step down? So these comrades are defying the resolutions of the ANC. That is why we're calling upon the implementation of the resolutions of the ANC. We can't pursue comrade, hey, step down, let's go and talk to him. He must consciously step down and say, I've done wrong, this thing happened under me. That's what we're saying.
All right. Well, there you have it, Tammy. That's Kebby Maphatsoe, is the MKMVA president, clarifying, some of the contradictory statements that were picked up by some of the journalists during this briefing, but basically saying that the ANC-NEC has been paralyzed by the factions that existed from 2017 and have now manifested, making it even difficult to tackle the issue of COVID-19 funds being looted.